I wish I could be there in class with you today to talk through section 1-3, but I am in New York right now. So I'm making this video so that you can um, get my instructions about how to do 1.3, and then you can get to work on this while I'm gone, while you have a substitute. So section 1-3, you should all get a copy of these instructions on the blue paper. But section 1-3 is called Detailed Description of Proposed Solution and Timeline. So that's a lot of words, but what you're going to do, there's two sections to this. You need to answer in smooth, formal, cohesive paragraphs. Section A actually has several questions in it that all need to be addressed. So don't just pick one and answer it, or pick the few that you like. Be sure to answer everything that's in here. So question A says, what's your group's proposal for a solution to the problem? So this is the first time in your grant you've actually talked about what the solution is. So far you've talked about the problem, and then you've talked about who's affected by the problem, but now you're going to start talking about your solution. So that's what the first question is what are you going to do to fix the problem? The next question, what exact product or element is needed? Now this question could be confusing because some of your groups aren't purchasing a product or an element. It says to include model number, brand name, accessories, etc. But that might not be specific to your group. So what you'd want to do is kind of just reword this question. If you're not buying a product, you could say something like, what exact conference are you going to take these students to, or what exact workshop or museums are you going to be taking students to? Whatever you do with your grant, just kind of rearrange or reword that question. And then the next question says, why is this specific, again, product or model, or this choice that you've made, the best choice out of all other available options? And then in parentheses ask, what are the other available options? Be sure to discuss some of the things alternatively that students could do, or what that you could do instead of what you've decided to do. And then the last question, what research can be used to show it's the best solution? Be sure to put that. Research could include what you've learned from interviews, what you've learned on the internet, but be sure to put that in there. Okay, and then question B. This is the can be done two different ways, and I'll talk you through each one, but part B is the timeline. So assuming that you receive your proposed funding, we're just going to assume you did, that you got all the money you wanted. Describe each step of your grant process, including all of these steps, the start and end dates, length of time required for each step, individuals and or companies involved, and for the responsible staff. So each step will need citations, don't forget that part. They'll just be internal citations within the grant, and then on your works cited page you'll write them all the way out. And then you need to include each of these steps. Now, some of these will be included and will pertain to what your grant project is, and some of them won't. So we might need to do a little bit of adjusting, and that's totally fine. So the first thing is ordering and receiving the product. You got to talk about who's going to actually make the purchase. And that is not you. The students will never make a purchase for the school. So purchasing, ordering is always going to be done either by the teacher, the faculty member, or by the finance office, which is Mrs. Alder. So one of those will make the actual purchase. And then the next thing is training and installation of product. Some of your product or your projects won't need any training or installation. If it doesn't, then you can go ahead and skip that. The next thing is advertising. Everybody should find some way of doing some advertising of your product, whether it's just putting up a plaque that says this product was purchased by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, or posters around the school, or announcements over the intercom. Whatever you're going to do, the word needs to be out that we've received funding and that was a donation. And part D, maintenance and storage of product. Again, you might not be purchasing a product, so it might not need to be maintained or stored. However, because some of yours don't relate to all of these steps, there are other steps you need to think about. Some of you are doing a focus group or some kind of experiment where you have individuals that you're doing a pre-test and then some kind of lesson or activity, and then there's a post-test, or at the end of the trip to the museum or to the ceramics studio, there's going to be some kind of test to see if your grant was successful. So those steps are going to need to be included. So you need to think all the way through from beginning to end how your grant is going to flow, and include in your proposal all of those steps. I'm going to show you just real quick a sample grant so you can get the gist of what this is supposed to look like. So section 1-3, here you go. There's part A, the group's proposed solution. This one is pertaining to getting a whirlpool for the something for the athletics department, and talks about, this is our best product. This is the one right here that we're going to want. Here's the price. You can see they've got internal citations all throughout. They talk about why it's the best. It's because of these features, the 60-gallon whirlpool would suffice. It has suspension seating, has a horsepower motor. Wow, this is pretty high tech. Dual scale thermometer and plumbing. That's good. Anyway, so you can see this is why this is the best product out there. It gives another option. This is what else could be done. We could get a cheaper one. It has less water, and it doesn't have a dual thermometer. So then it says it's not a viable solution. Then it says a second option might be just to repair the one they've got, but the frayed wires aren't easy to fix and they could cause shock or even death. So you need to include something in your proposal about alternative options, but then also say why it's not the best option and why your original idea is the best. Okay, then part B. You can see here they say their grant follows these steps 1, 2, 3, 4, which were in your instruction sheet. And then this is one, I said there's 2 ways you could do this. One of them is this way, making a table. And you can see they've got the 4 steps going down here. Actually, they've got 5. Going down the side as row headers, and then going across, they've got a start and end date, explanation of time needed, so they're explaining why it's going to take about a half a month, well, it's 2 weeks. And then who's involved, individuals and companies, and the responsible staff. And then they've got their internal citation here. There's 2 of them. They have three sources there. Okay, then they've got the installation part. They've got the training, and they're explaining why these dates are important, how long they're going to take. They've decided they're going to make announcements, I guess, during school to advertise that there's a new whirlpool, and then the maintenance is included here. So you can do a table like this, and that's totally fine. I'm going to just let you look at these headings again so you can make sure that everything in these headings is in your table if that's what you decide to do. So the step, start, end date, explanation of time needed, individuals and companies involved, responsible staff, and citation. Some of you might be asking, how do we decide a start and end date? That is up to you. You can choose a hypothetical date, and that is fine. But you should know, just choose a start date, and if it's 2 weeks, then you look on a calendar, figure out what 2 weeks is, and then you look at the next. If this ended on December 12th, the 1 week starts on December 12th and goes till the 19th, and so on. So whatever your start date is, you just have to make sure you follow through with the length of time needed to figure out when the next date starts. Okay, so that's one way you can do it with the table like this, or you can write each of these steps out in paragraphs. I feel like that looks nicer. I think that this table can be confusing. So what you would do is you would, instead of just putting your ordering and receiving, you're going to put this out into paragraphs. So you could say the first step is ordering and receiving of our product. And then you would explain that this should take us 2 weeks and you go on from there. And just write it out in sentences like that. Be sure and put your internal citation. I think this looks nicer because then you can do your next step there, but it's up to you how you decide to do it. I'm not going to dock you points if you do it in a table. I'm not going to give you extra points if you write it out like this. But you choose one or the other. Don't do both. All right, so that is section 1-3 that you'll have some time to work on while I'm gone. I need a draft uploaded to Canvas by Sunday night, by midnight, so that I can print out your drafts and bring them to class on Monday. So make sure you get all of that done. If you have questions and can't figure something out from rewatching the video, feel free to email me. I should be able to respond to emails while I'm away. But yes, good luck with 1-3.